veterans and their families for the sacrifices. We greatly appreciate it. Okay, if anyone has not signed up for the public input, I think it's laying there on the pulpit.
Right down here.
Okay. All right. The council members were provided with a financial department report, which gives you what our current expenditures and revenue and a to-date printout of basically where we are for the budget. We've been provided a police report as well, and a report from Jordan on public works. Looks like the police has had a pretty busy month. I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of the above.
Mayor,
Yes.
I've asked April to provide me with a P&L since I came on, and I don't really, what I see here is, percentage of the budget, and I was wondering if perhaps we could get the checkbook accounts from, or the check.
The bank statements.
Thank you. I can't even think today. From the bank, would be easier for me to understand, about our money. This is a lot of paper, and it does go into detail, but for me to be able to see where the money's going and for what things, it would probably be easier with a bank statement. I'm used to getting a P&L, but I don't think we have that program here.
So, government doesn't operate on a P&L.
Yeah.
But it would be something similar. I'm not sure what you need that the detail, but I can ask her. So what in particular are you looking for?
Bank statement.
The bank statement for every account?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can get with her later.
Yeah. And also, I know before the past, there's been at least one council member that's been a signature to be able to get access to the bank statements and the accounts. And with this new council coming on in January, I know Miss Betty at one time had access, and I think they can sign off on checks.
Any other questions?
Who's on the bank accounts down there?
Only two right now on City Hall is mine and April, and on the PD is the chief and Tracy.
I'm
Do
sorry,
you have more than one signature on the PD?
just mine and the chief's on purchase request, yes, sir.
Okay, on like signing checks?
I don't think we sign checks at the PD. If we do, I'm not aware of
It's
it,
just
sir.
the bank, okay. So all of the rest of it goes to City Hall. Okay, any other questions?
Do you know when we can have that?
I will, talk to her tomorrow. For signatures, it takes, them a couple of days, about 3 days, till the bank brings the stuff down here. And then, we do the signature at that point. For the last time, it takes 3 days, so they process everything, because they have to go, part of it goes through their corporate and their underwriter, I think. So, but I will talk to her tomorrow, and you're welcome to reach out to her as well. Okay, I'd like a motion to go into public hearing.
Mayor, with this police department report and public works report.
Oh, I'm sorry. As far as the police department, would you like to, speak on behalf of
Sir,
your?
we just got our statistical data. We have been busy, as the mayor said. We've taken 50 reports, issued 71 citations, 88 traffic warnings. We investigated 5 traffic accidents, and we made 32 arrests, 15 for warrants, 7 for drugs and DUI, and we do our neighborhood and business checks daily. That's one of the pet peeves of the chief. We want to do community policing. We want to get out and know and be known, let you folks know that we're out there and that we care. As I've said many times before this meeting, because you're our why. And we have been busy. Nora, our drug K9, is 4 for 4 on walk-arounds on the cars. And we have seized a good amount of off the street. And we're really happy and very proud that she's been so productive. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that the dog is only as good as the handler. So it speaks well of Sergeant Russo and the work that he's doing with her. We've also got our campaign going about our school cameras. Nobody likes to get tickets from the school camera, but I tell you what, it's a lot easier to take care of a ticket than it is to live with the fact that you may have killed or maimed a child. And they're our why too, and that's why those cameras are up there. It's not to generate revenue. Revenue is the least of our concerns. Those children are our concern and their safety. And so many people drive through those school zones without a care in the world, looking at their phones, playing with their radios or playing with their kids in the back seat, and they just don't pay attention. And we have to do what we have to do to get their attention sometimes. So far it's a 91% reduction in speeding vehicles for us, and that's proactive policing. We never know how many crimes we prevent. We can't quantify that, but we do know that we've had, knock on wood, no serious accidents or injuries involving our kids or on our school grounds. So we appreciate your support for that. Ms. Lane.
Jordan put a report together, and so he crew has set new meters. That seems to be a daily occurrence with some of the developments that are starting, and some of them, because they've paid in advance, they want the meters set even before they've got the lots really prepared. But some of those have been damaged, and they understand that they wind up paying to replace the meter, the box, the lid, whatever does get damaged, but they're perfectly willing to do that. They've done 119 water locates this month. They've done 89 sewer locates. The grass, of course, right now this time, the grass, keeping up with that in the parks and the right-of-ways is a full-time job. If they haven't gotten to it, they intend to. Leaf and limb pickup, all I can ask is what I do anytime is for the public to call in when they have limbs to be picked up. The newsletter explains what the size should be, and then the different PALs. If they're larger, it's 30, 60, 90, I believe 120 is the highest rate. The reason being is, as everyone knows, cost of fuel is up, and when you have a truck that gets about 4 miles to the gallon, you can't just drive around looking for limbs, so if people call in, then we can, but if they make a run, depending on what kind of debris it is, we have to take it to a dump, and I believe they now are $120 for a load. So we have 2 different places that we can take it to. It depends on whether it's clean or if it's got some other things in it that are undesirable, and those we have to take to a dump. And we go out, I think it's on 211, and they've raised their rates because another company bought them. So trash pickup is an ongoing thing, as everyone knows, and they try to do the city garbage cans on Friday and Monday. And if they notice it's full, they do it sooner. They're doing pothole repairs. They've done quite a few. I've noted in a highway and various other streets, and it's a continuing thing. And, you know, again, if the public calls and we can get a work order put in, the staff will do the work order, and then we will buy the patch that's appropriate and get those done. So that's Jordan's report. I try to maintain the city property and utilities, keeping customers satisfied. Sunflower Festival will be on the 17th. They will be preparing streets and decorations and the lot between now and next, a week from this Friday. We have some long side water taps that's coming up, and the storm drain project down on Railroad and 2nd Street by Castos. The pipe to do that storm drain repair is on order. I think the lead time is 5-6 weeks to get the pipe that we need. So that's what's going on in public works. Any questions from council?
Mayor, I would ask if you could have Jordan check out highway down towards, and they may have done it already, I haven't been down there in a couple of days, but there's potholes that are going down towards the main warehouse area, and just right around the whole area, Sunset, that area.
Yeah. I know they did quite a few, but it's not. It may have,
I haven't been down that way in a few days, but
I noticed
they seem to
closer
be
to
getting
Dooley, they got several of them, because I noticed them yesterday with their patch. Who?
Why are they, I mean, they'll be curving so up?
Cold patch wears up,
And rain and all that, all
yeah.
the rain.
It needs an actual paving, but
East Lake Road.
And I just, right where the warehouses are, the grass seems to be really high, so I don't know who's responsible for it. Is it us or them?
Next to the railroad, or
No, right there where the,
that should
warehouse.
be that, yeah,
Okay.
that should be that company, and I tried getting a hold of them, but it does look pretty bad, so. But that was part of them putting it in, that they would maintain it, and that's not being done.
It's kind of weird, they cut up to a certain
And
place
then
and they stop. So I didn't know if we were responsible for that or try to catch them up.
All righty, no other questions? Get a motion to go into public hearing, please.
make a motion.
I'm sorry, who said to move it?
All those in favor? It's unanimous. First on the agenda is the tax year 2022 millage rate. And the city of Statham has tentatively adopted a millage rate which will require an increase in property tax for the 2022 tax year. City of Statham anticipated the property tax levies will be 4.003 mils, which would be a 19.92% increase from the proposed rollback of 3.338. A tax report from the city's finance department is available on the city's website or may be obtained by contacting Statham City Hall. There's a change on this with the asterisk that says based on August 18, 2022, the city's Form PT 32 has changed, and the rollback rate is now 3.337, and the tax increase is 19.96. So it changed a little bit. We based it on the preliminary reports. Asia, you have information that you can.
That's just it, that it was based on preliminary. Do it to those numbers, so that's a change. So this is the true accurate number now that the final number has been set.
Changed to .001, which changed the actual percentage by 0.04%. But that's the only change on that. Other questions on the millage?
Mayor, I just want to say that I know this stuff can get confusing, but the millage rate is still remaining 4.003 mils.
But your taxes will go up because of your value of millage rate increase.
Yeah. It basically is what we had last year, but based on growth in the county is, I think, what they base the tax digest on. And so they say we should be able to roll back to this, and it's not always the case. So we're not changing from last year, but if you base it on the rollback, which is what we're required to do, that's why it looks like it's an increase in 19.96% now. But it is the same as what it was last year's rate. Any other questions or input on that? Any questions from anyone in the audience? Okay. Well, that would conclude the public hearing portion. So I would need a motion to go out of public hearing.
I'll make a motion to go out of public hearing.
In favor? Unanimous. The items on here for discussion this evening, the first one is the alcohol license application. This was tabled at the August 16, 2022 regular meeting with Amayo Enterprise LLC, the owner and applicant, Amal Yosef? Yos, okay, I apologize. Beverage license for beer and wine retail package located at 2059 Atlanta Highway Southeast in Statham. The map and the parcel number is SP06A009, also known as Statham Food Mart. This location has a current business and alcoholic license for beer and wine. However, a change of ownership has prompted a new alcoholic beverage license application per the city's alcohol ordinance. The owner is here this evening. He also has an applicant who did pass the background test, background checks, and would be the contact if there was any need for that. So it does, and he does meet the ordinances of the city for this application. He has redone the application with the young lady that's with him. I'm sorry, I did not get your name.
Kathy.
Kathy. So, any questions from the application? Okay. I'm moving on to the second item, is the ordinance 22, ordinance O-22-04, wine tasting events ordinance. This was tabled August 16, 2022 at our regular meeting. This is the third reading. This would amend the code of the city of Statham, Chapter 4, alcohol, Article 6, retail package sales, to add Section 4-163. This was tabled because I think the council wanted the opportunity to consider more and maybe have other questions. So I'll open it to questions.
Mayor, I had asked to have this table. I was hoping to reach out to the incoming business. And how this ordinance would apply, but I've not had the chance to do that. But that was my reasoning for the table.
You have his contact information. I can provide it after the meeting. All right. Because he's pretty quick at answering and or returning your call. He's busy, and he would be happy to talk to any member of the council with their concerns or questions. Any other questions or input from council?
How close is he to breaking ground on that? I know we're gonna have to stand his,
Wasn't there a deadline for him to start the?
yeah.
He's gonna have to come, to ask for an extension. But I believe he just got, either last Friday or this past Tuesday, the reports back. He's got the hydros done and, the engineering part that goes through EMI. So, at this point, he moved to the next level. I don't think that the groundbreaking will occur until the fire department, Captain Kane, takes a look at his plans. And, so I would say it's feasible, into this month, beginning of next month. But he is going to have to obviously come back and ask for an extension on that license. And he is aware of that. I've spoken with him, but we did reach out and tell him that the reports came back and everything is favorable to this point. Any other questions? All right. Next on the agenda is Barrow County Water Purchase Contract Proposal to approve an update wholesale water purchase agreement with Barrow County. This update includes clarifying information. The costs associated with the agreement have not changed. I guess the fault's on me because the one that I signed at the very first part of it said an agreement between Barrow County and Barrow County. They did a cut and paste and they didn't put Statham in there. So I signed it and sent it immediately that evening, and then they come back and said that it had to have some grammatic changes.
Yeah, Mary, it was substantively the exact same agreement, and the county sent us and said this is the final version. That's what we presented to y'all. It missed a few small typos, missed us. But then, literally the day after the meeting where we approved it, we got another version back said, no, this is the final version, and it had so many changes. And again, they're all typographical, grammatical more than anything else, but it had so many changes, I thought it was appropriate to just get reapproved, so that there is no
As far as
question.
the cost or anything like that, everything.
Price of the water, term, the ability to get out 5, 8, yeah, all that's still the same.
So,
There was just too much red on the page for my liking.
and I had checked with the counselor, and if I could just sign that, and he felt, as he just stated, too many red things, even though it was grammatic changes, that it would be best to bring it to the council for the reapproval.
So they'll have that in our next, meeting.
Yes. As a matter of fact, it's in your packet, and like I said, the very first part of it said between Barrow County and Barrow County, and then there were other things that they changed, so. Next on the agenda is audit engagement letter for fiscal '22. This is to approve an engagement letter for auditing services with Bates Carter for the fiscal '22 financial audit. The cost for this audit is $18,000. You all should have in your packet the draft for the approved 2021 fiscal. Started with the 22.
So all the audits that were past due, we had to get caught up, those have all been filed and approved, so we're all caught up in 22.
21 will be on the 20th meeting. The council would have the opportunity to approve it. At that point, probably the very next day, it could be, it'd be sent off to the auditor with the proper signatures, and then I would say within a week, it would be uploaded to the DCA website and various places where it has to be. And at that point, so by the end of September, 21 would be put to bed as well. So it would be, since this administration and the staff, it's 16 through 21.
Yeah. Has there been any word on the grants or anything about, since they've been completed and?
So we have to get 21 uploaded, and then now April has applied for another grant. She just completed that today, so we are starting to look at grants, look at other avenues to try to get revenues for improvements throughout the city. Once 21 is uploaded, then hopefully we'll be able to even possibly apply for some elevate for some road improvements. So, but I would think by the end of the month that it would all be uploaded, and then we could, if the council decides, we can go into the 22 audit. Well, the 22 audit.
Mayor, can you reach out to the auditors and ask them if they could be available at either the October or November work session? We've had them come in before.
They did say that they would, just let them know, and they will come in, talk with the council, and address the council, and probably any public questions that might come up. But yes, I will. Would you want them here for the 20th, or? Or the next work session.
As soon as, whatever the next work session is, so we can ask questions and get feedback and that sort of thing. Whatever that work session is.
Yeah.
October. Six. Yeah,
October 6th.
I will. October 6, 22. Right. Any other questions? Okay. Next on the agenda is ordinance O-22-05. Is an ordinance amending the FY '21 budget. This is the first reading. This would approve a FY '21 budget amendment ordinance this, to maintain all the department budgets and their respective line items to maintain a balance. And I believe there is a very short list of what is referred to. As far as the overall budget, we were fine, but there were some line items in individual departments that were out of budget. So you have one that's listed as page 1 with a BA at the top. Some of it had to do with the salaries. The one on the line item in there for elections, capital leases, so and the vehicles. So, like I stated that overall we were fiscal 21 the budget was balanced, but some of the line items in some of the departments were make these changes in order to be in balance per Georgia law. It's this little 6 items towards the back of the whole stack, probably the third from the back. Like almost the last couple of pages. So feel free to review that. If you got any questions, you can reach out to April, and she can explain it. The 22 is done the way that the auditor want. And these were adjustments that were made after 22 was made after we started this audit process for the fiscal 21. So, okay.
Mayor, I'm not on that same year, but would it be possible to have the departments give us a report of where we are with our current projects and ETAs on completion? Because I know we got quite a bit going on this year with the roof, appraisal of the building, AEDs, agreements over we can just kind of get an update on that and where we are when we're expected to start and have it finished. Now, the end of the year is coming up quickly. We'll be at the six-month mark before you know it.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Next on the agenda is well development for additional site exploration. This was tabled May 17, 2022 at the regular meeting. This would to approve the Statham Water Department to continue the well development project, adhering to the goals of the mayor. Capping site number 3, the Hillman Rainwater. City staff requests $60,000 with a 15% contingency for well exploration of a potential 3 sites to include surveying and drilling per detailed in the attached letter dated April 5th, 2022, from the Water Department's operator, Jordan McDaniel. This approval also includes the mayor's signature on agreements with Groundwater Service Incorporated and firm assisting the city with well exploration and development in order to keep the project moving while personnel, contractors, and equipment are on site. I just add a note to that part of the AP today, I signed another $35,135 check to the county for water. So I know that you're considering the agreement with the county, and that kind of will give us a little bit of a breather. It'll help because it's obviously a better price. That agreement is based on $3 per thousand. We're paying about $5.18, $5.19 per thousand now. So that will help ease up a little bit of that burden. Jordan reached out to Winder. They cut us back, so we just get the bare minimum $30,000 per day. So our water bill for Winder was $600, and the water bill per month was $135 for the county. So just food for thought. But I like this was going to be brought up last month, and we had a lot of other things on. So Councilman Venable had asked me, and I believe Council then asked me about where we stand. Are we going to bring it back up? So I put it back on the agenda for discussion and possibility of continuing down that path that we had considered at one time.
The $35,000 was the water bill for August from the county,
Yes, in the county. Yep.
and the $600 from Winder.
Yeah, and that's just basically the bare minimum that they allow us with $30,000, I think, is what they allow us, even when they cut back on our. So Jordan reached out to see when they would be, how they're doing as far as their water consumption, and when they would be able to allow us to start drawing more water from them to source, because they're, I think, $3.15 per thousand. So it would be more in line with what the county is offering. Any other questions?
Have we reached out to these, I know it's all on private land, correct, for potential sites for this?
They've talked to them, they're all open to, possibility. So,
Has the price of the land been discussed with them at all, or?
no.
One, I believe it was, Councilman Doble asked me to pull some very, very rudimentary, numbers using tax assessor valuation. I don't know how good that is in light of the update to tax digest, but, I believe I emailed that to you, yeah, so.
You know, to me, I think I forwarded it to everybody, I believe.
Very basic, non-scientific, non-appraisal, because I am not an appraiser, ways of valuing what we could be looking at, just to give a ballpark.
Mayor, the grant, I just saw it today in my email that is being worked on for, water and water infrastructure. When do we expect to hear back from that?
I just know that April finished it, I think this morning, right before lunch. And, so I think first is they determine whether everything is in line, as far as properly filled out, and all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted before it even goes to the committee. My understanding is that in the $1 billion area total grant, I want to say I read something like 1.8,
4.9.
4.9 billion. But so
I know it's 10% match in revenue.
I believe everything she basically agreed applying for would be a 10% match to the city, for the city.
So they didn't give her any date as far as when they would announce or go to
Not that I'm aware of.
the
But I could find that out and see if there is a date that's linked to it. Because more than likely, there's at least 2 dates. One would be, this is when the process starts. The deadline was, I believe,
Tomorrow.
I'm going to say it was sometime within the week. So she did get it finished today. She felt she was pretty thorough with it, so I will ask her about that.
I mean, I definitely have been vocal about water independence, for sure, and still want to achieve that for Statham. But depending upon, this grant, that's a significant amount of money that could go towards that if we were to get it. But it's also a significant amount of money that we had, match with that 10% as well. And I know we got the money from the CARES Act that could go towards matching the grant. So I would definitely like to see if we could get kind of a time frame on when they would make a decision.
because it looks like we'd have to match roughly 530,000.
And from my understanding, she will match it with the CARES fund. If it does get approved.
That's somewhere around, we got the second installment, so it's somewhere around 0.1 million that's in there that, again, one of the only things that the city would qualify using it for would be water and sewer infrastructure, so, any other questions on that? Okay, everyone has the draft. Item number 7 is the fiscal year 2021 audit acceptance, and there's a letter and the draft for should be in your packets from the auditor.
That draft packet was not printed out. Either of y'all want me to print it, I will print it out for you, those just email.
So,
Draft, it's like 40 pages.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's-
if anyone needs a hard copy, I'll just let me know.
It's quite extensive. But overall, we did well with it. But there were some line items that they treat a little different. And part of the delay was they did some sampling on employees, and one of them won the lottery 9 times for random selection. So they pulled the same time cards, had us pull the same time cards for the same employee 9 times. So it didn't show any change in their, like, the council approved the 1.5% cost of living. So it didn't change anything because the month that they did it was not the month after that 1.5%. So at any rate, April was able to address that, and they went back and she printed out that email that says, yes, you are correct. We didn't change the criteria, so it skewed the numbers, so they went back and made some corrections on it. So you have a chance to look through that, and you got any questions, Aisha and April will be happy to address those. So, any other questions as far as the audit is concerned? That's all the items on there. Next on the agenda is the executive session. I'd like to give a motion to go to executive session. Okay, on second. And all those in favor? Okay. Return momentarily. I have a motion to come out of executive session?
Motion.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Mayor, City Council, City of Statham adjourned into executive session to discuss matters protected under the Open Meetings Act, exempt from the Open Meetings Act, specifically to discuss pending potential litigation, settlements, claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions brought or to be brought by the agency. No votes were taken during executive session. A copy of the resolution and affidavit will be included with the minutes.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, at this point, we go to citizen input section. Aisha, would you call first, and Counselor, you want to run the clock?
I'll do it.
Okay, remind the citizens 5 minutes, and need you to state your name, your address, and approach the podium or whatever you want to call it. So who's on the list first?
Kurt Burglenrider.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Bogenreiter. I live at 1969 Broad Street. My second appearance requesting this particular item. I've come before the City Council for the second time on behalf of the citizens of Statham and the 120-plus citizens who signed a mayoral recall petition of Mayor Joe Piper to again request the immediate resignation of Mayor Piper due to the reasons that I had elucidated at the previous meeting, including, but not excluding, poor management of personnel, poor management of our taxpayer funds, poor management of the downtown area, poor relations with the city council, the police department, and various committees that have been formed within the city. On top of that, the 4 bankruptcies that the mayor has filed, I think, disqualify him as being the chief executive of the city of Statham. So again, on behalf of the people who signed the petition for recall and on behalf of multiple other citizens who didn't have a chance to do so, I again ask for the immediate resignation of Mayor Joe Piper. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Gail P.
Hi, I'm Gail Street, I live at 498 Mike Street. There are several things that I wanted to speak with you about. First, Debbie, what you're asking for with your budget should be something that is relatively easy to do in the computer program. What she is asking for is a monthly report that your report, it's an expenditure report and revenue, an expenditure report that can be generated, should be able to be generated with your software. And it will have your budget for this year, it will have your expenses for the month, or revenue, whichever, and then it will have your year-to-date balance in there. There will be how much has been expended for months and year-to-date balance. It's a very simple report, and I don't know why software for the city wouldn't do that. It doesn't leave out percentages. It gives you the actual dollar amount that's left to be expended in those accounts. So I don't know why they can't do that. But anyway, I think that's what Debbie's asking for too when she says TML. We always have to do it with, almost everybody that I know that do year-to-date reports do it that way. Also, another thing that I wanted to bring up too, Price Street, I have asked several times in them records that we have winds that are growing and hitting vehicles, mainly the bus. I have been asked for this prior to school starting, but we've got limbs that are hanging in the road right of way and bushes that are in the road right of way that need to be cut back. I said the last time I was in here, I wasn't going to ask for a work order again. I was going to let council know that's not being done. And also, we have drainage ditches that need to be cleared out over there. And then the last thing I wanted to mention to you too, if y'all are still exploring the water on private property, before I would spend money to have a study done, I would want to know what sort of agreements I would have with that private property owner, to see what they might be gonna charge the city for the property, or if it's a lease for the property, or exactly what it is. It would be frugal to enter into that, research, or to what am I wanting to say, to go explore that, and then the property owner wants to charge you so much money that it's not even gonna be feasible for the city to do. So I think probably talking to those private property owners would be the first thing to do, rather than go ahead and explore water right at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl Miller.
My name is Cheryl Venable. I live at 2021 Broad Street. I'm speaking tonight on the word pride. Pride in our community, pride in our environment. During the spring, several people volunteered to clean out the gardens around downtown. And during the summer, the weeds grew up. Never saw a city worker out there. Casco's gave us a water container. Never saw anyone watering them. Because the Fall Festival, Sunflower Festival is coming up, we're volunteering to clear these out. I personally did 2 gardens, and I think it's kind of sad that all the effort that goes into these to maintain them, that they're not being maintained by the city workers. I also think the alleys in downtown need a little reorganization and cleaning. The garbage cans are angled, the big ones are angled wrong because you have no entrance point for any fire department. The garbage cans down the street, half the time, they're laying in the street. What I have seen is a worker on a golf cart spraying weed killer. Not getting off the golf cart to pull weeds, but just spray weed killer. We need to take and clean the sidewalks. I mean pressure washing. Let's take pride in what we have. And then I'm going to speak on limb pickup. 3 weeks ago, well, no, it would have been 4 weeks ago, 2 weekends in a row, we had limbs off of a tree that's half in the alleyway, half on ours, but was dropping 25-foot limbs into the alleyway. My husband and I, both times, cut them up. I called the city and said, I have an abundant, big pile of limbs, but this actually is a city limb landing in the city alleyway. Please pick it up. It is bigger than what should be, but it's a city limb. I waited a week. No one came. But the funny thing was, the very day I called that in, I had a city worker in a truck pull over in my yard, take his cell phone out, and take a picture. 3 hours later, I had a city truck with 3 workers actually back up into 7th Street to look as they came by. I have seen employees of the city drive by. Mary, you have driven by my house with your golf cart. The following week I called, because I thought they were going to pick them up on Thursday. So the following week I called, and I got told, well, they might get them to this week or next week. So I got kind of a little perturbed and drove around on this side of town, counted 21 piles. Limbs are falling off these trees on Broad Street. They're 80+ years old, more like over 100 years old. They are abundantly growing out. I was educated by a tree cutter. When those limbs start going out and turning upside down, they're coming down. And they are coming down. We need to get these trees trimmed. I went to the other side, to the park and everything. They were good. So I called again. And finally, the 3rd week, they got picked up. Now I have a 12-foot by 6-foot dead grass. Why? Because the limbs stayed there that long. I am asking for effort from our city to take care of our city. This is something that should be the whole city. The grass, when you come off of 211 onto Atlanta Highway, you can't even see the Sunflower Festival sign. I could hide in there. The other thing I would like to address, and the police department has done good, is we're having people sleeping on benches, sleeping in the library door, plugging their phone in to charge their phone. This is what happens when you start ignoring the city, your environment. The last thing I am going to address is last month, I thought we had it very clear that we are going to have police presence. Now there was an email that went out to 2 counselors, not 5, asking for someone to sign a piece of paper down at the police department. That piece of paper would cost those people allowance of money, once again, to take care of the police department. I want to know, is the city going to pay for it without anyone signing? I did open records, no one signed last year. What is the deal with Halloween? I mean,
Do my job for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all we have.
That's it. The answer to your last question is yes, there is police presence. And the purpose of that is just so they can schedule the proper people on the proper night. And as far as Halloween, I've spoken with the Legion, and I've also spoken to the Armory people, and they intend to give us coverage like they did last year, hopefully just as many. We had 18 last year, plus some heavy equipment. That, I can't speak to last year. I guess I'm going to assume that it was done. You say that that form was not done. I just asked the 2 council members, because they are on that committee. So that's why it went out to those 2 to get an answer, and I got no answer from either. So the answer is yes, there will be police. The chief just asked that he have that form so he can basically have a paper trail. So that is the answer to the police presence at a house. So I wrote down notes from everything.
No one else signed up here.
Okay. I thank everyone for coming, and thank you for your comments. Next on the agenda is everyone on the council had the minutes for the regular meeting, August 16th. Those were provided probably in your email on August 18th. So is there any corrections, comments on the minutes for August 16, 2022? No corrections, no comments. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes from August 16, 2022 regular meeting?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the August 16th, 2022 meeting.
Second? Second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Well, that's everything on the agenda. Can I have a motion for adjournment?